Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Gwen and today I'm going to be talking to you guys about what I read in May. I was successful in reading 4 books this month and I'm currently in the middle of another one, but since it's not complete, it's not going to be in this video. 2 notes. The lighting might be a little bit weird because the sun is going in and out between clouds. My apologies for that. Can't control that. And then AC is also on, so I can't control the AC. It's going to be on. With all of those things out of the way, I'm just gonna jump right into talking about these 4 books that I read. Okay, so I started reading the Powder Mage trilogy, that's what it was called, in April, and then I continue on to finish it in May. I finished both of them, and overall I would give this series like a 3.75. On Goodreads you'll see that I marked all of them as 4 stars. However, I felt in the 3rd book like a 3.75 to a 3.5. Let's talk about the Crimson Campaign first. This was the 2nd book. I loved how fast the pacing was in this book, and I felt the characters still growing. I really liked everyone's parts this time, and our one POV that was female, which is Nilla, she gets way more pages in this book and also the 3rd book, so that's a plus. However, with the 2nd book, I still didn't feel like that 5-star shine. It was still good. I very much enjoyed it. We had a lot of things going on that by the end of the 2nd book, I felt like the cliffhanger was very well done, and I really liked where everyone was in their stories and how you felt very unsafe. Now, the 3rd book, The Autumn Republic. This is where I felt like a lot of things that were going really well just started to irritate me entirely. What I will say is that there's a whole theme of not being able to trust people, and a lot of political upheaval, a lot of, what's it called when people, there's a lot of lying. I can't think of the word. What is it? You can't trust anybody. Everyone seems to be on the opposite side that you thought they were on. What is that word? I don't know what it is. I felt when I was reading this book that there was too much revealing. There was too many people at this point that you couldn't trust, that Tomas couldn't trust. I was kind of done with that. By the middle of reading this book, I was just like, seriously? There's more people that Tomas thought he could trust, and Taniel, and Nilla, and I can never remember the investigator's name, but him as well. It just felt like everyone didn't want Adapest to be its own city. Everyone wanted to own it. Everyone wanted it to be burned to the ground or just have complete control, and it was chaotic to a point where it got annoying, not where I felt it was becoming good for the story. Overall, this 3rd book I would give a 3.5 to. I just felt exhausted by the end, and not because it was finally over and I could breathe a sigh of relief for all the characters. I felt exhausted because it just felt still awful, which I feel like shouldn't be the end. I did want to mention a couple of positives that I did love about this story. I did love Nilla's story by the end. I loved where she came from. However, I do wish she was not in the 1st book at all, and I wish she was just written for the 2nd and the 3rd book. I feel like that would have been better for her. The 2nd thing I wanted to mention that I really loved was Valora's character arc and where it went. I loved it in the 2nd book when she basically yelled the inconsistencies with male soldiers versus female soldiers. Loved that for her. That was a great part. And in this 3rd book, you could really tell that she was important and she was a full character. So in the end, I did like these 2 females that were pretty much dominant throughout the entire story. I still feel that in the 1st book they were lackluster and weren't at their full potential like they were in the 2nd and 3rd book. So I just feel an average 3.5 for this entire series. It was a fun read, and it was enjoyable, and it was a different kind of magic system that I did enjoy. It was really fun to learn all the details about it, but it wasn't fully my series. I'm glad I read it though. I don't feel like I wasted my time reading this. The next 2 books that I read in May are part of a trilogy. I have not completed this trilogy yet, but I am planning to. It is written by the same author as The Faithful and the Fallen, which is Gwynne. So I started reading Of Blood and Bone, that trilogy. And here are the first 2 books. The first one is A Time of Dread, and the second one is A Time of Blood. So A Time of Dread I picked up in between reading the Powder Mage trilogy because I was waiting for the 3rd one to arrive in the mail, and I immediately fell in love with going back to the Banished Lands again. Gwynne does it again. I gave this book 5 stars. It was super entertaining. I loved all the new characters. I loved hearing about the old ones. Just as kind of a side note to a little bit of the story here, since you may not know, we are following 132 years, I believe, after The Faithful and the Fallen. So it's 131 to 132 years since The Faithful and the Fallen ended. And we are following 4 characters. Yes, we're following 4 characters in this first book. They're in different areas of their life. Most of them are under the age of 18. Actually, no. 2 of them are under 18, and 2 of them are above 18. One of them was a surprise and wonderful, and I don't want to spoil who that is in this book, but we're following Drem, who is living with his father up in the Desolation. We are then following Riv, who is training to become a white wing of the, I don't know how to pronounce this correctly, but the Ben Elim? Unsure. But she's training to become a white wing under them. She's around 16 to 17 years old. And then we have Bleda. Yes, Bleda. And we meet him first when he is 9 or 10 years old, and he is watching his clan fight another clan. And that's where we start off with this book. I don't want to give any spoilers because this was such a fun read. Oh my god, it was everything that I needed in a series. Friendships, female characters that are wonderfully written, and an honest depiction of what happens after really awful things are still roaming the world of the Banished Lands. And I loved it so much. So A Time of Blood, I felt, was a little bit slow compared to the first one. I felt like it was there was some pulling teeth by the end for me, and personally I think it was because I didn't want a character to die, and so I was just like really being like, do I want to read this? Do I not want to read this? Oh my god, is it gonna happen? I don't want it. Please don't die. That was kind of the whole reaction to quite close to the end of the book. It was still fun, still loved all the characters, loved where this was going. The reason why I also gave it 4 stars, why it was lower than the first one, was because I felt like this story almost happened, or this time frame almost happened in like a day. It felt like we were just having like a run-on sentence instead of like pausing and getting some breaks in between. So that was a little off-putting, but otherwise still a fun read, still enjoyed it, and definitely finishing this trilogy. So that was it for the 4 books that I read in May, and I am still continuing to read the 3rd book in the Malazan Book of the Fallen when I have time. It's still going very well. I'm enjoying it, but it's definitely been a little bit slower going on that side for my reread. I don't have in mind to do a full TBR list for June because I don't do TBRs. So I did want to mention next month what I will be reading, what I'm intending to be reading, because I just ended with Of Blood and Bone. I did get the 3rd one, and this one is massive. We're definitely bringing in the big guns. Gwynne said, I will finish the story for you in 3 books. And he's definitely going to do it. So very excited to get to this in the month of June. And then when I did the tag, the stay-at-home tag, I was looking through my TBR to see which books, I have been on my TBR the longest, which ones, I might read next. And I decided that the next series that I would read after Of Blood and Bone would be The Thousand Names. So I'm very excited to start this series. There are 5 books, I believe, in this series, and I'm hoping it's entertaining and well worth my time. So that is what I read in May, and a small TBR of what I'm going to be reading in June Thank you so much for watching my video, and once again, all my links are down below if you'd like to follow me anywhere else on social media, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!